What have been my favorite games that were released in 2023? Well, let's talk about it coming up. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name's Clayton, and first things first, I just want to mention I'm not the type of content creator to go and buy the newest and hottest games that hit the market. So if there's a game on this list that you think should be here, let me know in the comment section down below. It's probably because I haven't played it yet, so let me know what games I should check out that were released in 2023 in that comment section down below. Also, this list is in no particular order. Now, let's jump into number 10, which is Star Wars, the deck building game. Now, this is a fantastic two-player deck building game where you go head-to-head with your opponent. One player is playing as the Rebels and the other player is playing as the Empire. And the goal of the game is to destroy 3 bases from your opponent. There's also a force tracker board, and depending on what side the force on will help trigger different cards' abilities to aid you. Now, the twist with this deck builder and what I believe makes this game so much fun to play is you can actually attack the cards in the market. And when you defeat those cards, they could give you extra resources to help you buy even more expensive cards. But Star Wars, the deck building game, let me know if you guys played this one. It's super fun. Highly recommend this one. If you like Star Wars or Star Realms, then you're definitely going to enjoy this one as well. Moving on to number 9, we have Skyteam, a different style of game than I normally would play. This is a dice management cooperative game where you need to land the plane as safely as possible in order to win. For you to do that, you are rolling dice behind a screen and trying to communicate with another player to place the dice that you need on different areas of the plane. You need to control the speed, the flaps, and there's also coffee that will help you manipulate the dice as well. Now, surprisingly, this game's actually pretty difficult because it is a co-op game, but you cannot tell the other player what dice you need in order to help balance out, let's say, the speed, the flaps of the plane, things like that. You kind of have to place your dice down and hope for the best. And if not, hopefully you can get some coffee to help manipulate the dice to numbers where you need them to be. You're also trying to remove planes from the landing strip, so you're obviously not going to crash into planes when you do land. And there's different airports that will add different things to the game to even ramp up the difficulty even more. I've only got a chance to play this game 3 times, but I've had a blast every time I played this. So if you haven't already, check out Skyteam. It's actually a pretty difficult 2-player co-op game. Number 7, Stranger Things, the board game. So when this game was first announced, I was actually on the fence to whether or not I would like this. I thought this would be more of an IP kind of cash grab, but there's actually a little bit of depth to it. It is a cooperative game and all players are working together to win, and the game does offer some challenging elements to the gameplay. The board is double-sided based off of Season 1 and Season 2 of Stranger Things, but basically in this game you are moving to different locations and taking different location actions, and you are trying to gain different items. The goal of the game is to actually defeat locations with the cards that you have in your hand. I wouldn't say this is a bad game. I had fun with it. I probably wouldn't play it often. It's something that I would pull out to introduce to newer gamers, especially gamers that are a fan of Stranger Things. I absolutely love the show, so that's why I gave this one a shot. Let me know if you guys played this one as well. Did you enjoy it, or do you think it was just an okay game? Next up, I have 20 Strong. Now this is a solo dice game where you're going to be managing your different dice. You get 20 dice, which is why it's called 20 Strong. And you can use as much dice as you want, but keep in mind that your dice will get exhausted and you need as much dice as possible to defeat those bosses in order to win. I'm actually pretty surprised with Chip Theory games. I actually got a shipping notification and then the next day this game showed up, so I was actually pretty thankful. It's a fairly cheap game, and if you're a solo gamer, then you're probably going to enjoy this game as well. Pretty much what you're doing is you're going to be picking out one of your characters to play. I think there's only 3 different ones in the Sentinel expansion. Comes with a bunch of different monsters that you have to fight against, each one having their very own unique abilities. You're going to be rolling dice, trying to defeat them, and trying to get your dice back after you spent some of your better dice. And if you're not careful, more enemies will spawn, and you're dealing with a bunch of different monsters that could wipe you out instantly. The goal of the game is to defeat the boss, and there's different bonuses you can get along the way. If you're a solo player and you're into kind of strategic thinking games, then you might like 20 Strong. Check it out. I've had a blast playing this. Gonna continue playing it into next year. Now, for this next one, it's by Mind Clash Games, and you're playing as witches, and it's a fantastic Euro, kind of heavy, and I'm talking about Septima. I only really got a chance to play this once this year, but it was a blast. You get to play as different witches, and each of them will have different abilities. You're gonna gain different resources, make different potions, and you can even turn into a cat. You will need to play different action cards to perform that action, and the goal of the game is to become the most powerful witch, which will become the next Septima, the highest value witch. You're also being hunted by a witch hunter that you're trying to avoid through the game. Now, once the game is up and running, the gameplay is not too bad. It's not too heavy, but I mean, for me, what I'm used to, it's a little bit on the heavier side, but it was still a lot of fun to play. Probably want to give this one a few more plays before I do a full deep dive review for it, but honestly, it was a blast to play the first time I played it. Love the theme, something different. If this looks like a game for you, check out Septima. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Coming in at number 5, I have a game that everybody has talked about, so I got a chance to play this one a few times, and I'm talking about Earth. Earth is a tableau builder for 1 to 5 players with simple rules but tons of strategic gameplay when it comes to creating engines of cards. You are building different kinds of plants and trees on a 4x4 grid of cards, and you will need to use soil to help plant those different plants. Once a player has completed their 4x4 grid of cards, the game will end and all players will add up their victory points. It's actually quite simple of gameplay. You're more just thinking about what cards you want to add to your grid to get a good engine flowing, to get a bunch of resources that you will then use to get better cards, to help give you more points. There's also a 3D element to the game where you're building these different stacks of, I call them trees, but they're not necessarily called trees. I can't remember what they're called, but it kind of adds to the enjoyment of the game, seeing a tableau build, seeing these different trees get built on those cards. Definitely had a lot of fun playing this one. I heard this one is actually coming back to Kickstarter with a new expansion coming in 2024, so make sure to check that out when it does come, because it is actually a pretty simple, fun card game. Now moving on to number 4, I have a game by Stonemaier Games, and that is Apiary, a worker placement space bee game where you can level up your bees when they go to hibernate. You will need to explore, gain different resources, gain tiles to build on your board, tons of different abilities to tweak your factions of different bees, and tons of bonuses to help give you tons of different ways to score at the end of the game. Now honestly, any game that has a unique theme with cute components has my attention, because I'm always trying to introduce my wife to interesting looking games, and she's a big fan of worker placement games, so this one was a no-brainer for us to play. Both of us really enjoyed it. I'm probably going to pick myself up a copy and do a full review for this one as well, so make sure to stay tuned for that. Now moving on to a game that I talked about plenty on the channel, and that is Witcher Old World. If you're new to this channel, I've actually covered this game a bunch. I've done a bunch of gameplay videos, how to play videos. If you haven't seen those, I'll have that link down below so you guys can check those videos out. It's a super fun game where you are playing as different witches going out to defeat monsters, and you're trying to gain 4 trophies in order to win. There's a few different ways to gain trophies, but the main way is to defeat those monsters. It's also a deck building game, and the deck that you have is your health points when you go to fight monsters. Now, I honestly really enjoy playing The Witcher Old World, probably the best solo. I don't mind 2 or 3 players, but any more than that, the game definitely drags on. But I've had tons of fun playing it. Probably one of the games that I've spent the most amount of time playing this year. So that is The Witcher Old World, sitting at number 3. Now moving on to my number 2 is a game that I've talked about also tons on this channel. I didn't mention it last year, but I did get the core box for it last year. But definitely this one is a new release in retail this year, and that is going to be Marvel Zombies X-Men. And I do have the core game as well, but I'm going to go with X-Men because I know that definitely hit retail this year. And this one introduces the hero mode. This is one of my favorite games of all time. Hero mode or zombie mode, I honestly don't care. I'll play both of them. I prefer probably zombie mode just a little bit more because I find that one a little bit more challenging, trying to balance out your hunger track. But again, I've talked about this tons on the channel. If you want my full thoughts of this, check out my review for it. I'll have that also linked down below. Probably my next most played game besides Witcher Old World has to be this game. My whole family loves it, and that's why this one is definitely sitting at number 2. I didn't want to give it the number 1 spot because I've talked about it so much. It's a fantastic cooperative game. I always have fun playing it. But there has been tons of great games that came out this year, so let's check out my number 1 pick. Dune Uprising, a deck builder worker placement game. where it expands on the elements of the base game Dune. Now this one definitely builds on everything that the base game has to offer and more, and that is why this one is a standalone version of the game and not expansion. They have a whole new player board with different ways to get different resources. There's some new elements that change up the game, such as spies. There's also sandworms now. There's even a shield wall that you have to try to take down if you have sandworms. There's also a bunch of new characters with new abilities. This one is definitely a more advanced version of Dune. It's definitely its very own game. There's enough differences between this one and Dune to make it its own game. I'm not too sure if you want both games. If you're a fan of Dune, then you probably do. But if you're looking for something on the lighter side, then I recommend Dune. But if you're looking for something that's more heavier and strategic, then Dune Uprising is the way you want to go. I've only got a chance to play this a few times, and I'm a big fan of Dune. I'm a big fan of Dune Uprising. I'm not too sure if I'm going to pick it up or not. I'm still on the fence because there's tons of expansions for Dune already out there that will change up the gameplay for that one as well, and they can't really be added into Dune Uprising. So I haven't made up my mind if I should have both games or not. If you guys have both of them, I would love your help in the comment section down below if I need both or not. With that being said, that has been my top 10 games of 2023. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye.